Hi there. Yeah, I'm all ready again. So I have my glasses on still, my reading glasses, and I have the book in my hand to the chapter that I want to read. We last read about Samuel picking David and telling him, even as a young boy, telling his family that this boy was going to be king one day. And so that story continues here in a story called The Young Hero and the Horrible Giant. This is the story of David and Goliath, and it's found in the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 17. God's people had some scary enemies, but the Philistines were the scariest of them all. And now the Philistines had come to fight them. The Philistines had a secret weapon called Goliath. Goliath was a terrifying soldier. And worst of all, a giant. A giant so strong and so tall and so scary with big weapons and big armor that no one had ever been able to fight him and win and live to tell the tale. So there they were, the Philistines standing on top of one hill, God's people standing on top of the other. So there's God's people on one hill, Goliath and some Philistines on the top of another. Every day, Goliath came out and shouted, "Send your best soldier to fight me. And if he wins, we'll all be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves." No one spoke. No one moved. "Chickens!" Goliath bellowed. "Your God won't save you from me. I'll rip your heads off and I'll have you on toast." His beady, greedy eyes glowered at them hungrily from under his horrible helmet, as if any minute he really might just gobble them all up. And he laughed his terrible laugh. It boomed, echoing horribly around and around the dry, dry valley. Well, Goliath might just as well have been a green, slimy monster with 3 heads, because God's people froze with fear. Their eyes glazed over, and they turned deathly pale. They knew if someone didn't do something quick, if someone didn't save them, but God would do something. He would send someone to save them. Now you remember that David was the youngest son of Jesse? Well, his brothers were soldiers in the army. One day when David brought his brothers their lunches, he saw Goliath, and he saw how scared everyone was. "Don't be afraid," David said. "I'll fight him for you." "What? You're only a shepherd boy," the king said, "and Goliath is a great soldier. How will you fight him?" "God will help me," David said. So the king gave David his own royal armor to wear, but it was too heavy and too big, and David couldn't even walk in it. "I won't need this," David said. So there's a picture of him with the armor on. And he says, "I won't need this. It slows me down. It makes me less nimble." Instead, David picked out 5 smooth stones from the brook, from the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And he took his slingshot and walked toward Goliath. Step, step, step. And here is how an artist imagines it looking when he was picking the stones that he needed. They have to be the right size and the right shape and the right weight. Oh, and here's the picture about what I'm going to read next. Goliath walked toward David. Thud, thud, thud. "You?" Goliath peered down at the small boy. I'm little, David shouted up to him, but God is great. Goliath laughed even terribler laugh than usual. It went. With just one swing of his giant sword, Goliath could finish the boy off. But David kept going. It isn't how strong you are or how many swords and spears you have that will save you. It is God who saves you. This is God's battle, and God wins his battles. David put a stone in his sling, swung it around, and let it go. The little stone flew vzz, like a bullet through the air and struck Goliath, thud, right between the eyes. Goliath stopped laughing. He stumbled and staggered and crash fell dead. When the Philistines saw Goliath was dead, they ran away. And when God's people saw them running away, they cheered. God had saved his people. David was a hero, the shepherd boy hero. Many years later, God would send his people another young hero to fight for them and to save them. But it was a different way of fighting, just like David fought in a different way. This hero that was to come would fight the greatest battle the world had ever known. And so here's the picture that goes with this story. Goliath laying dead on the ground from having had a very fast-moving stone hit him between the eyes and the forehead. The Philistines running away, and the Israelites cheering God because God had saved them using the strange weapon of a shepherd boy, David. And that's the end of the chapter for this time. I'll put the marker in, and I'm going to put the book on the shelf and say shalom and serenity to you all. Till we meet again.